Welcome back to the deep dive. Now, if you're like a lot of people in busy organizations, you probably see safety management as maybe a necessary evil.
Hmm.
That pile of compliance checklists, maybe a bit of a burden, or just something tacked onto the end of a project plan,
Yeah,
an afterthought.
right, exactly. The compliance trap.
But the sources we've looked at, they tell a completely different story. Today, we're really digging into this argument that safety isn't, well, it isn't some standalone function at all.
No, it's fundamental.
It's an integrated core measure of whether your organization is actually managed successfully. So our goal here is to give you a kind of blueprint for lining up safety with your real management processes.
Structure, leadership.
And crucially, the finances, the bottom line.
And that reframing is just so essential because if you boil management down, really strip it back.
What is it?
It's about planning, getting the resources, organizing them, and then, orchestrating everything to hit a goal.
Yeah.
So if management is basically getting things done through other people, then safety has to be part of defining getting things done successfully.
Right. Not just done, but done well.
Exactly. It has to be completely baked into how you execute, not sprinkled on top.
Okay, let's unpack that integration then, because, before we can even talk about where safety fits, we have to understand the kind of architectural blueprints managers are using every day, right?
Absolutely.
If safety needs to be integrated, what are these base models? Where are the seams, so to speak?
Well, what's really fascinating, I think, is that pretty much every management blueprint, going back decades right up to now, they all stress how interconnected things are.
Okay.
Take the goal accomplishment model. It really forces managers to consciously juggle, I think it's 9 key elements at the same time.
9. What are they?
Things like activities, people, equipment and materials, facilities, the physical environment, the social or management environment, regulations, time, and cost.
Wow, okay. That's a lot to juggle.
It is. And you see immediately that safety isn't like item number 10 on that list.
Ah, right.
It's more like the quality control layer that sits across all 9 of them. You can't optimize activities or manage equipment without dealing with the safety risk involved.
That makes perfect sense. You can't separate it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that idea of balance is why those classic models stick around, like the three-legged stool model.
Oh, yeah, common in project management.
Right. It says you have to balance performance, cost, and schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And if you skimp on safety, you basically break the stool, usually because those hidden accident costs suddenly shoot up and wreck your budget or schedule.
Totally. And, even if you look at the more theoretical frameworks about management roles, safety pops up everywhere, like Grimaldi and Simon's model.
Okay, tell me about that one.
They break management into 3 functions. Organizing, that's structuring the resources, administering, planning, coordinating, measuring, and then managing, which is leading and motivating people. Safety clearly isn't just an organizing thing. It's deeply tied into administration, measurement, and definitely into leadership and motivation.
And there was another one, Biddle and Ramsey. How does that fit?
Yeah, their model gives you that really wide-angle view. Management is just the process of pulling together human, material, and financial resources
Okay.
and converting them into products or services, all within certain constraints, like environmental regs or market conditions.
Right.
The second you start converting resources, energy is moving, things are happening, risk is there. So the safety thinking, the safety mechanism, it has to be right there at that conversion point.
Okay, so if those are the kind of theoretical maps for successful management,
The blueprints, yeah.
the next obvious question is, okay, practically speaking, where do we put this safety function? In the actual organization. We're moving from the blueprint to the org chart now.
Exactly.
And typically, organizations have, line elements, the people actually making the product or delivering the service.
Mm-hmm. The operations folks.
And then the staff elements, the support functions like accounting, HR, and importantly, the technical safety specialists.
And this is maybe the most crucial, non-negotiable finding from all the sources.
Okay.
The safety department, the staff experts, they can give all the advice in the world. But for safety to actually work, it must be a core responsibility of the line manager.
Not the safety specialist, but the operations manager.
Yes. Especially those first-line supervisors,
Mhm.
the ones who directly influence the workers every single day.
Yeah.
They're production managers, and they own the safety outcome for their team and their process.
Okay, but the staff safety people, the industrial hygienists, fire protection experts, those folks, they still need some clout, right? Some influence.
Oh, absolutely.
If they're buried like 5 layers down in the org chart, their advice just gathers dust.
Precisely. That staff safety element needs to be placed high up to actually succeed. Our sources point to 3 conditions that are really necessary for that safety department to have, teeth.
Okay, what are they?
First, they have to report to a boss who has real influence, real power in the organization, and who genuinely wants safety to be a priority, not just paying lip service.
Makes sense. What's second?
Second, they need a direct line, a clear channel to top management, so critical safety issues don't get filtered out or watered down as they go up the chain.
Okay, influence and access. And the third condition sounds like it's about organizational geography, where they sit on the chart.
It really is. Third, they ideally should be placed under the executive who's in charge of the organization's main activity, usually the chief operating officer or equivalent.
Ah, okay. Why is that so important?
Well, think about the signal it sends.
Yeah.
If the safety department reports up through, say, facilities or maybe HR, it tells everyone else that safety is kind of secondary. It's about building maintenance or personnel rules.
Right, not core operations.
But if it reports directly to the head of operations, the message is crystal clear. Safety is absolutely core to how we produce, how we operate.
So influence is literally tied to where you sit on the map. It's not enough to be smart. You need the right reporting line. Okay, so we've got the structure right. Let's talk execution. This is where leadership style really matters, isn't it?
Hugely. The studies on supervision and performance are, well, they're incredibly compelling on this.
What do they show?
The core finding, the one that always seems to surprise people, is this. Supervisors who achieve better safety records, they also achieve high productivity.
Really? Not a trade-off.
Not according to the data. It strongly suggests that safety and efficiency are like 2 sides of the same coin. They are absolutely linked.
I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
Especially when you dig into the traits of these high-performing supervisors. What defines them?
Yeah, the sources point to 3 key behaviors that stand out. They tend to, 1, control their anger. 2, they seamlessly integrate safety talk and tasks into the daily production workflow.
Okay.
And 3, they maintain close, consistent contact with their workers. They're present and engaged.
That point about controlling anger and maintaining contact,
Yeah.
that seems really key to understanding the process side of things.
It is. Think about it. If a supervisor is, flying off the handle or they're never around,
Yeah.
workers are naturally going to hesitate before reporting a small process problem or a near miss or a minor error they made. They fear blame.
Right. They don't want to get yelled at or look stupid.
Exactly. But if the supervisor is calm, approachable, present, engaged, workers feel safer pointing out those system flaws or asking questions.
Which means the supervisor gets better information.
Better information leads to fewer mistakes overall, which translates directly into better safety and higher throughput, better productivity. It's really about creating psychological safety for operational honesty.
That completely reframes safety leadership. It's less about being the rules police and more about relationship management, enabling honest feedback. But, okay, if we're talking management, we have to talk accountability. If safety is so central to success, how do we actually hold managers accountable for it? Just saying it's important isn't enough.
No, it isn't. If safety isn't measured rigorously, it simply isn't managed effectively. It drifts. Historically, there are sort of 3 main ways to drive accountability, starting with the most maybe direct or punitive one, cost accounting systems.
Okay, what does that involve?
It means tracking the actual costs of accidents, medical, compensation, lost time, equipment damage, specifically by department or unit, and then linking those costs directly to manager performance appraisals and even promotion decisions. If your unit has high accident costs, it impacts your review.
Okay. But wait a second. How well do those systems work in the real world? Doesn't tying accident cost directly to someone's bonus or promotion just, encourage people to hide incidents?
That is the critical danger, absolutely.
Or minimize the reports, or maybe try to shift the costs onto somebody else's budget.
You've hit the nail on the head. That's why the underlying culture is so important. If the culture is just about blame, then yes, cost accounting for safety backfires. Big time.
Okay.
And that's why many organizations prefer a more proactive approach, like the second method, safety by objective.
Safety by objectives. What does that look like?
It's where managers and their supervisors sit down and set specific, measurable safety improvement goals for a set period.
Like what kind of goals?
Things like reducing equipment damage incidents by 10%, or increasing the percentage of safety audit action items closed on time, or achieving a certain score on hazard identification quality. Proactive stuff.
Got it. More forward-looking.
Exactly. And that leads directly to the third approach, which is probably the most modern and, frankly, necessary, focusing on leading indicators.
Okay. Explain leading versus lagging.
Right. Accident stats, injuries, cost stats, those are lagging indicators. They tell you about failures after they've happened. History, exactly. Leading indicators track the proactive, preventative things you're doing before an accident. Are we actually doing the required safety training, and is it effective? Are we completing preventative maintenance on time?
Are safety inspections getting done properly?
Yes. Are people certified for the tasks they're doing? Measuring these inputs helps prevent the disastrous outputs. It's about managing the process, not just the outcome.
And I guess for any of these systems, cost accounting, objectives, leading indicators to really work, you need checks and balances, like audits.
Absolutely essential. You can't just rely on self-reporting. Systematic reviews, or audits, provide that independent feedback loop. They look specifically at management procedures and practices to find those structural or process weaknesses before they cause problems, before they show up even in leading indicators.
Okay. This feels like it's leading us towards a more modern view of management overall.
It does. It brings us right into modern management philosophies where safety becomes almost indistinguishable from quality. We're talking about things like total quality management, TQM, and Six Sigma.
Right. This is where safety gets truly deeply integrated, isn't it?
Yes. Because these philosophies, they're intensely focused on continuous process improvement, on driving down errors and defects in the system.
And how does that change the view on accidents?
In this mindset, the old idea of blaming human error starts to fade. Accidents are increasingly viewed as just another type of process error, a defect.
A flaw in the system, not just the person.
Exactly. A defect that needs to be understood and engineered out, just like any other quality problem.
That must change the whole dynamic around safety.
It absolutely does. It shifts safety away from being just a top-down mandate, a rule book handed down by the experts,
Yeah.
to being a truly collaborative effort. Work groups themselves get trained to spot hazards, analyze risks, and integrate safety improvements directly into their own process improvement work.
So safety becomes a tool for making the process run better, more efficiently.
Precisely. It's seen as a resource efficiency tool, not just a way to avoid lawsuits or manage liability.
That collaborative idea is really key. And it sets the stage for understanding things like behavior-based safety or BBS correctly.
Yes, when BBS is implemented well in the right environment, it's about analyzing work processes to identify those few critical behaviors that prevent most injuries,
Okay.
and then providing positive feedback and coaching to reinforce those safe behaviors. It's data-driven observation and feedback.
But you said implemented well. There's a catch.
There is a huge caveat here, and it's where so many companies stumble. BBS works brilliantly in those collaborative TQM-style cultures focused on improving the process.
Right.
But if you try to bolt BBS onto a traditional top-down, blame-focused, punitive management system,
Uh-oh.
it becomes a weapon. Workers feel like they're being spied on, judged, written up for unsafe acts. The trust breaks down, the collaboration dies, and the whole system backfires because the underlying culture doesn't support it.
So it's not the tool itself, it's the culture using the tool.
Bingo. And a really common, simple mechanism lots of companies use to try and build that participation to push responsibility down into the work groups is using safety committees.
Yeah, you see those a lot.
It's a structured way, hopefully routine, to give workers some shared ownership over the safety of their own processes. And ideally, that feeds right back into that TQM, continuous improvement philosophy.
Okay. This is all making sense structurally and culturally. But let's bring it home. We need to talk about the money, the justification for all this that gets executive buy-in.
Right, the bottom line.
To get real management support, serious resources, safety investments have to be framed in financial terms, using those cost accounting ideas we touched on earlier.
Absolutely. Managers, especially senior managers, speak the language of dollars, cents, and margins. It's rarely enough just to say accidents are expensive.
You need to quantify it.
You need to quantify it in ways that hit their daily reality, their key metrics. And our sources highlight 3 really powerful ways to express accident costs that tend to make executives sit up and listen.
Okay, give us the first one. Probably the easiest one to calculate.
Yeah, the most direct maybe. Frame it in relation to your labor costs. Dollars per $100 of payroll.
How does that work?
For instance, you could say, because of our current safety performance, our workers' compensation premiums alone cost us $12.85 for every single $100 of salary we pay out.
Ouch. That makes it immediate, like a direct tax on having employees.
Exactly, it's tangible. The second way is to tie the cost to units produced.
Okay, units produced. How?
A significant loss, say, from a major incident, isn't just a number deducted from the profit line. You reframe it as the number of additional widgets or products or service hours the company must sell just to cover the cost of that one single loss.
So it shifts focus from just the cost itself to the extra effort needed to make up for it.
Precisely. It highlights the opportunity cost. And the third way, which can be incredibly powerful, especially for businesses operating on thin margins,
Yeah.
is expressing the loss in terms of the volume of business needed to offset it.
Give me an example.
Okay, let's say your company operates on maybe a tight 5% profit margin. A single $10,000 accident loss isn't just $10,000 disappearing.
Right.
To make back that $10,000 profit, at a 5% margin, your sales team has to go out and generate $200,000 in new business.
Wow. $200,000 in sales just to break even on one $10K accident.
That's the kind of number that makes leadership pay instant attention. It connects safety directly to sales targets and overall business health.
So pulling this all together, the final justification is pretty clear, isn't it?
Yeah.
Safety spending isn't just a cost to be minimized.
No, it's an investment. An investment you should analyze using standard business tools like cost-benefit analysis. You calculate the return on investment, the ROI.
And where does that return come from?
Well, the return shows up in multiple ways, all measurable. Obviously, reduce direct losses from accidents, but also, crucially, lower insurance premiums because your track record improves.
And the productivity link we talked about.
And the increased productivity, absolutely. Remember, those supervisors who manage safety will also get higher output. Fewer interruptions, better morale, smoother processes. When you do safety right, integrating it properly, it's not an expense line, it's genuinely a productivity enhancer, financially justified through improved efficiency.
That brings us perfectly full circle. The core finding, really, from everything we've discussed is that effective safety is fundamentally about successful management. It's about cultural integration. It's not some isolated compliance function.
Not at all.
It really demands the right organizational structure, the right kind of proactive leadership style we talked about, and critically, the right financial justification presented in language that resonates upstairs.
Which leaves us, and you, the listener, with maybe this final provocative thought to chew on.
Okay.
If the studies consistently show that the very same supervisors who achieve high safety records also achieve high productivity, and those successful supervisors are partly defined by their ability to control anger and maintain close, regular contact with their workers, what does that tell us? What's the deep connection between, say, emotional regulation and social engagement on the supervisor's part that managers should perhaps be focusing on first to unlock both high safety and high efficiency in their operations?
That's definitely something to mull over, the human element driving the process outcome. We really encourage you to take these models. We discussed those 3 ways to express cost, the different accountability mechanisms, that clear line versus staff distinction, and start using them to look critically at where safety truly lives in your organization today.
Is it integrated or is it bolted on?
Thanks for diving deep with us.